I'm CurlyHairedHero.
I'm OuterOrange. Hi, my name is Fuzzy, also known as FuzzyParadox.
I'm Munch from South Jersey.
Alright guys, what do you call it? I used up all of my luck by scrubbing out of the X because to get you guys these interviews, I am here with, introduce yourself.
I'm CurlyHairedHero, also known as CurlyHaired Vanguard from the CurlyHaired Vanguard channel. What's up?
How'd you do today?
I did okay. I could have done better. Total record is 4-3. One of them was just from a no-show. I ended up losing early, so I lost round 1 and round 3. So my chances of topping were already pretty low. I rallied back a bit. I was 3-2 or something like that at some point, but then I went into the mirror. So then I was 3-3, so it was 100% over. It was pretty much over since like round 2 or 3 or something like that. But you know, there was a small chance. You never know.
Gotcha. That answers the next question because I was going to ask, was there any matches that stood out today, and you want to expand on any of that, or?
Yeah, there was a couple. The first match I played against Kyrie, that was pretty rough because, you know, first turn they checked crit and they broke through my 1 to pass. Second turn, they broke through my 1 to pass with yellow ulti, retired my board. So I was already behind that entire game, and then they did their whole Kyrie thing, drew like a bunch of cards. That was really rough. The round 6, I fought a mirror, so I'm playing Vladimir, they're also playing Vladimir. And it's interesting how they interact, because, you know, we both hide each other's stuff face down. So usually that doesn't help any deck, but for Vladimir, of course, it adds power to the Vanguard. So it was just this interesting interaction. But he ended up going first, which, you know, kind of gives him the control of the match for the most part. I was able to stay in it, but then, you know, Divine Skill, 80-something, how much I can do. That's about.
Since, you know, we have considerably different lists in Japanese and English, what would you say about the overall ecosystem of like the competitive scene in the English format?
I think it's pretty relatively healthy right now. It's really strange because if you compare it to the Japanese side, it was just mainly all Shoujo-doji and Shiranui, whereas like I haven't seen as many or heard about as many Shoujo-dojis or Shiranui specifically. I feel like there isn't as many Shiranui. I don't know if it's just people know a ban is coming or they just think there are better options. But relatively the game is like really healthy where there's like, the way I see it is there's like maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 decks that are just really, really good. And then like basically everything else is in like the tier above where it can compete. And then there's maybe like a very tiny amount that are just kind of, it's rough. Good luck.
Yeah, because I was talking with some of the players at my table, and allegedly, the top tables is just full of Blackmires, and only a handful of Shoujo-dojis, but there's no Shiranuis. There's one Welstra, and apparently they're just flipping. They're more yellows than they are yet greens. And then final question would be, if there had to be one card you had to take out of the one deck you had to take out of the ecosystem, what would it be?
I could think about this, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say if we can just obliterate all of Shiranui, even after the second hit, let's hit him again. Let's just make it choice restrict between like the Ride deck and Shiranui so they just can't play the game. I would do that. Realistically, I guess the obvious answer would be like the over trigger. Other than that, honestly, other than those 2 things, I think the game is like in a good spot. They could do things, but in terms of being problematic, I don't think there's really any problematic cards.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much for taking time to do this interview, since it's turned in from me trying to get glory to now I'm just a reporter on the ground at BCS Duluth. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me. And if you come up to Philly, I already know all the good food places. So what do you got? I'll definitely treat you guys well. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So this person does not need any introductions. And like I said, I used all of my luck scrubbing out of the main event to do these interviews. So I'm happy I got time to get this interview. Would you like to introduce yourself, even though you need no introduction?
Oh, I need an introduction. It's okay. I'm OuterOrange. Hi. I do casting for Bushiroad, and I also play a lot of card games. And we have Ed here too with us. It's my first time meeting you, so it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. All right, so let's just work through the questions that we asked earlier. How'd you do today?
So I took Leonard and I went X2 drop basically, and then I went over to the B side and I played it there, and now I'm 9th over there, so figuring out what's gonna happen on that side. But overall I had fun.
Gotcha. I got baited by your one Twitter post when I forget if it was Fortia or Lascayaville. You're like, hey, you better watch out at Duluth, and I'm like, oh, I gotta actually practice against that now.
A lot of my friends that I didn't even know ended up taking the deck, and I was like, oh, Like, I didn't even know they were taking it. I thought they were going to be like a Leonor or a Doji or something.
Hell yeah. Any matchups that you had today, either in V or standard, that stood out to you?
Let me think about that. So, honestly, I had a very normal run. It was just Shotodoji and Varga, but I did face a Charm out, which is someone from my locals. And that was probably my worst matchup, funnily enough, because she just deadass went critical trigger every single turn. I was like, I just died here because I was holding 3 PGs and 3 Leonors. I couldn't actually block. I'm not gonna PG on turn 2. So I was just like, what's the worst that could happen? Oh, a critical. I guess that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Overall, that's probably the one that stood out the most. She actually did pretty well. She ended up going undefeated until the last 2 rounds, and she did lose those 2. So unfortunately, she just got out of top 5. So
yeah. And so since we have like, even though you can also blame the playstyles of English players and OCG players, and we have different ban lists, how would you describe the ecosystem of the competitive scene right now?
So personally, I think it's a very kind of going first meta right now with a little bit of a touch of stride decks. And I'm not a big fan of this meta personally. It kind of feels a little, I feel like it's hard to really play. You're kind of just banking on like hitting your triggers to draw the right cards to be able to play your game plan without getting destroyed by someone else. Because every deck that's going first right now has a really good strong pop off, like Raziel, Doji, Leonor's really strong going first as well. Wagmar's really strong going first. We have quite a bit of going first strength, and I feel like it's kind of hard going second, in my opinion, unless you're playing a Stride deck or Kyrie. So I'm not a big fan of the ecosystem, but I don't think it's the end of the world. It's not like completely unfair, like where there's like tier 0 stuff going on, but I feel like the tier 1 decks are really strong.
Gotcha. And so following off of that, if you had to pick, if you can't think of a whole deck, it's just a card you would like to just have picked out of the ecosystem, it's banned everywhere, what deck and why, or what card and why? Or you can answer both.
A whole, just one card?
If you had to pick one card, to be like, this card, it's just dumb, it's not fun to play with or against.
Quagmire. I know. You know, funny, the person that's currently recording this is a Blackmire fan. So let me give my reasoning. The reason why is it's an unplayable win con and unplayerable win con, and I don't like that type of playstyle in the game. So I don't like sitting there going, I'm at 2 damage, I'm safe, but then the Divine Scales gets ripped, and there's nothing I can do to win the game back unless I check OT back, and even then, the columns are still unblockable because they're 70Ks, give or take. Now, I will say that the deck's a little high roll, so that's the upside, but I'm not a fan of a Divine Skill that's reliant on a one-of that ends up just closing out the game then and there. I don't fancy that. I feel very similar towards the Shotodoji OT in there because it kind of does a similar thing. It's a little bit more fair technically because you don't have a critical with an unblockable turn because you're not restricted to PGs. So that's why I think the unrestriction to the PGs for the whole turn was a little too much. But that's my personal say. I have nothing against the deck. I play the deck. I like the deck. I just think that's one thing that out of everything I see throughout the day, I just don't want to see that deck because I can't control that game sometimes. I just sometimes I'm like, well, if I lose, and it sucks. Yeah. Whereas I feel like I have more control over other games.
So would you say, like, for Blackmire, to go, it's kind of expand upon this real fast. If you change the Divine Skill wording to, it does what it normally does. It plays Vanguard, loses all effects, all abilities, and it gains a crit. What if it said you choose a unit and give it the red text for this battle? You cannot.
I think that'd be 100 times better. Now, it would definitely weaken the deck, obviously, but I just think the guard stick for the whole turn is too much. That's my personal opinion. I think everything else about the deck is perfectly fine. I think that, having Scroll and Persona, I think that's cool. The face down stuff, that's cool. I definitely think that either 2 units, just not the whole turn. Not the whole turn. I think that, or give us access to the Blitz order, because it's also not fair that we get taken away from the Blitz. If we were able to Blitz, then that would also kind of stabilize, because at least you can, well, they get their 1-up, but you get your 1-up, which is sanctity. Right? So I feel like that would also be another way to kind of at least negate something. So if they check OT, you can go, okay, well, here's my Sanctitude. I can at least take 1 attack, block another, maybe I'll survive. But usually anytime I see Blackmire, they check OT, the game's over. Like, I haven't won a single game. It's always been on 2 damage. If that happens, it happens. I'm just like, okay, it's tough.
Gotcha. All right, and I forget, was that the deck answer or the card answer? I already forgot.
That was the card answer. Deck, I can't think of a single deck that just right out needs to be just gone from existence. I'm not really into like alternate win cons, so Yatsuba is one that stands out, but I don't mind it. I don't think it's like destructive or anything like that. I'm one of those people where I don't really care that Doji exists or that Shiranui exists. Am I the biggest fan of Stridex? No, but I'm not like crying about it. So I can't think of anything off the top of my head right this second that needs to go. Like just the entire deck. It's not one piece.
It's not one
When
piece.
they ban the whole leader, the whole deck goes with it.
Yeah, you hear it here first. Vanguard's not one piece. It's confirmed. All right.
And they banned the entire leader. The whole 50 cards went with it.
Yeah.
So
That's wild. But yeah, I just want to say once again, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know, hopefully you get into top, is top 8 or top?
it's not big, but someone has to literally get DQ'd for me to get in. I'm good with my 9th and 10th place, whatever I got. It's not their 10th, but they're forcing me to stay. So
Gotcha.
I'm fine. It's a side event. By the way, the side events for anyone that's interested are actually pretty fun. They're usually 6 rounds. It's a nice vibe. If you want to play V Premium, you can mess around with the deck or take something more competitive. It's just a fun vibe. You get free cards, so try it out. If you scrub out of the standard like me.
Yeah, so once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. It's always a pleasure to meet you and talk to you IRL and on Discord. And what do you call it? I'll most likely see you in Philly because that's my home turf. So now, especially since I went 3-4 today. So now I have to go and defend my home turf. And
Your home turf is the homeland. Even though I'm losing in my turf, so time to go on the enemy turf. That's up their turf.
remember, guys, the plan is I have to win the Now Energy so I can trade it for the Masanori because that's like 25% of the reason why I'm here. Yeah.
I just like you guys are 3.
Yeah. All right. Exactly. Green. We got a fellow green enjoyer. Anyway, once again, thank you so much.
Of course,
And-
always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. All right.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Fuzzy, also known as FuzzyParadox. I do pie charts and stats, and I have a website.
What do you call it? If I had a nickel for every time I had to use your website to like look at stuff, it's such an invaluable resource. And first off, congratulations on making Top Cut in Duluth.
Oh, thank you. I didn't expect myself to be on the other side this time. I was like, I'm supposed to be over there, like recording deck lists, but now I'm on here playing Top Cut. That's weird.
And what deck did you bring today?
Leonard.
Leonard? Yeah. Pure build, or are you experimenting with anything else?
Pure build. It's standard Vivace. I added in a couple little texts I've been noticing, like as a few Leonard decks have been doing this past like set season type of thing. But yeah, pretty standard.
Gotcha. All right. I know I wish you congratulations, but how do you feel about your performance today so far?
Pretty good, honestly. I came in here with like very low expectations. Like I said, I was mainly coming here to like cheer on all my friends, make sure they make the top cut, and then when they make the top cut, I get to record the data. But then the polar opposite started happening, and I'm like, wait, hold on, guys, I need help, please.
Gotcha. And did any matchups or any specific matches during Swiss like stand out to you today?
Shoujo Doji, for sure. Yeah. As good as Leonard is in terms of like rushing and being able to make good numbers, Shoujo Doji is still like a very, very scary deck. And one of my loss in Swiss was to Shoujo Doji. And yeah, I mean, if they get everything they need, there's nothing you can really do.
All right, and then kind of the follow up on that. So since we have a considerable decent meta between English and OCG, how do you feel about the current ecosystem of the competitive scene in English right now?
So it's interesting, right? Around this time, for the Set 4 meta, there was a lot of decks that Japan has that obviously we don't have. One of them being Black, obviously. That was one of the Torikore red lines. That was like Welstra. But, you know, we still have Welstra as itself as a core deck with the inclusion of Cromwell itself. Then, you know, because we don't have those sorts of things have certain checks, then you have things as well as the Night Rose decks not being introduced beforehand, as well as the Harry decks. It gives us kind of like a small little pocket meta to like experiment with a couple of things. So I've seen a lot of people kind of pivoting toward Bishafel. I've seen a lot of people trying out Polio. I personally think that Polio actually is a good Shoujo Doji matchup. So it's interesting to say the least. There are definitely similarities between the OCG and the English side of the game, but at the same time, because of like, you know, a couple of things that we don't have that they obviously had around this time, gonna have our little thing going on too, which is nice.
All right, and then to kind of also follow up on that, if you had to, and we'll make this a two-parter question, if you had to take out a card from the ecosystem, it's just outright banned in the next presentation, what would it be? And the second part of it is, if you had to pick a whole deck to remove from the ecosystem, what would it be?
Okay, I don't want to be too mean to Shoujo Doji, so I would say probably Isazo. I think Isazo is the culprit there. And then in terms of just the decks, look, Shiranui's had his time. I'm cool. All right, Dominate's awesome, all right? Mad respect to you Shiroduri players, but you can have fun in premium, please. Like, you can have your card at 1, at the very least. But yeah, no more Shiroduri. I'm go Shiroduri.
You go with Shironui. All right. Well, what do you got? I don't know how much time we have left, but I just want to take time to say thank you for taking time out of your day to meet with me, talk with me for the vlog and for the YouTube channel. And what do you call it? Shout out to Fuzzy. Follow him on all the socials. I'll have all the socials from everyone I've been interviewing. As I've been interviewing them, those should be popping up on the bottom of the screen and in the description. What do you call it? Now I have to try to train, even though I might take like a mini week break because I went 2-4 today, or 3-4. Sorry.
What were you on?
I was on Leandor, but I played Mask Hybrid.
Oh, man, you got this twice.
Yeah, what do you call it? I'll share it with you later. But what do you call it? I might take a week to decompress, and then I gotta start prepping for Philly because that's my home turf, and I gotta go.
For sure, I'll be there too. So I'll be excited to see all the homies once again. That's one of the reasons I love BCS. To be honest, it's like you get to see all the homies, everyone that you don't normally see. Everyone's coming out of states or out of places, and it's like, oh, you're all coming together because yeah, it's Vanguard. It's a game we all love, and at the same time, you get to see all your friends. It's great.
Yeah, it's always a great thing. So if you guys are new to BCS, if you're new to Vanguard, but you feel like you want to either grind your teeth or just meet a bunch of new people, go to your locals, go to BCS. It's always a good time. You can make friends there. Like I didn't meet Curly until I went to BCS. I didn't meet Orange, so we all talked online, but actually meeting and connecting with these people, I feel like it enriches me as a person. And what do you call it? It's just great. And go out to locals, talk to people online about Vanguard, playtest online, and then go to BCS when you're feeling ready. Even if you're not feeling ready, it's just fun to meet up with people, and you can get some sick merch.
Definitely, it's an experience all on its own. So yeah, I would say even if you feel like oh man, I'm not gonna do well, just have the experience.
Coming off of it was top 32. Introduce yourself real quick and what deck you're playing.
All right, I'm Munch from South Jersey, and I was playing Shotodoji.
So basically, we've just been answering the same questions for all the interviews, and it's easy questions. First one we want to go is, how do you feel about? Well, we know you got top 32. So how do you feel about your performance today?
I did really well. I ended up getting sacked round 2 after my first round bye. That felt really rough, but I just went outside, got my mind right, and just played perfectly for the end of the day. So can't be mad. Lost in top 32 cut. I just got rushed. I didn't have the guard, so put me on gotta have it, and I have it. So.
All right, and then so we were just talking about with the others, English players and the OCG players playing different play styles. As there's decks in OCG play a lot slower than we do in English. So you can compare the metas, but how do you feel about the competitive environment in English right now?
The competitive environment in English, in my opinion, it's wide open. I know Doji's running rampant. I'm part of the problem, but honestly, there's so many good contenders. I really feel like defensive decks are the best place I've ever been, and any deck that forces your opponent to change the way they play, I feel like that's a whole nother mind game introduced to the state of the game that makes it much harder to play correctly, and I feel like it increases the chance of your opponent. So the meta is pretty much wide open in my opinion. Had a pretty diverse lineup. Ayusha, I lost the fucking Fennel. So, there's that in top 32. So yeah, it's very all over the place. Leverage Rust, heard a couple of Liberers were running it up. So I feel like it's very open and everybody has a chance. Maybe not so much decks where, you generally have very tight slots, but like decks that are either pile based or you have those tech slots. If you can find the goo, you can do wonderful things with it. So.
Yeah, and since you're now my man on the inside, when I was interviewing others, we were talking about top tables, and we saw that towards the end of Swiss, it seemed like it was a majority of Blagmeyers, Shojos, and we did find out there was at least one Welstra at top tables towards the end. But going off that, would you say that was accurate of what we were hearing? It was mainly Blagmeyers, Shojos, and the one Welstra?
So fun fact, I didn't play any mirror matches. I didn't see any blanks, and the Welstra player wasn't next to me.
That's wild. That's actually kind of wild.
I had basically a free day, no mirror matches. No, I love it. I like torturing my opponent.
Yeah.
It's like, who's going to play dumber?
Throughout the day, what matches stood out to you, like if any, that throughout the day? Like, was your round 1 the most memorable match you had?
Honestly, just for the simple fact that I literally did not see any triggers. And when I say didn't see any triggers, I visually didn't see any triggers. I'm running doji. I thinned 10 cards. I had no triggers in damage, no triggers in drop, no triggers in hand, or no triggers in soul. So I kind of just got sacked. My opponent won the die roll. So it is what it is. But other than that, I had a really nail-biting match that literally landed on 2 to pass.
So, unfortunately, that interview will only live in my memories because the rest of that interview, the microphone died, and then when I realized it, I did not remember to unplug the adapter from the phone for the receiver. So, even when we re-recorded that portion of the interview, the audio was muted because I was trying to find the microphone as opposed to using my phone's microphone. But it gives me a chance to catch up with them again in Philadelphia for BCS. So if there's any questions you guys want me to ask people I'm interviewing in Philly, please put them in the comments below and I will try my best to get as many of those questions answered. It was always a pleasure to talk with everyone there. That's, like I said before, that's like 50% of the reason why I go to BCS is to interact with people and talk to people I don't normally get to talk to. And with that, this video is coming to a close. If you guys like this video, subscribe, like this video, and share with your friends for the YouTube algorithm. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next time.